Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Honored to have back on the show Sara Dawson, who is our expert genealogist, and honestly, the only expert genealogist I know. So it's an honor to speak to you again. Please say hello and introduce yourself to everyone.
Thanks, Jill. It's amazing to be back. I am Sara Dawson, and my company is Descent Detective. And I specialize in digging up those little, those little missing pieces in people's histories that, they're really missing in their family stories.
Well, it's beautiful what you do. Just share your website off the top if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's www.descent, that's DESCENT, detective.com. I often joke that I am a decent detective, but really it's descent detective.
I love it. You got a great play on words with that word. Seriously, I love it because I think Descendants, the movie, and yeah, your descendants. It is our past, our history, and we all come from somewhere. It's fascinating to know that we all have some deep, dark secrets, and it is super cool to find out about your past history, your family's lineage. And now I know you were a history major, right? So that was important to you.
Absolutely.
And for those of us who I wasn't big into history, it's important to me. Tell us some of the services you offer and some of the things that, we could work with you on in learning about our family history.
So one of the things that I love to do is I love to do those deep dives into those relationship connections that we've kind of lost over time. So, things like grandparents. I work on a lot of grandparents.
Yeah.
And, even my own grandparents are no longer with us. So, it's not that difficult. But currently, I am working on a couple different grandparent stories that are just phenomenal. So, things, like they passed away when their children were small, so they just don't know those answers. Life kind of takes its own little journey, right? And if you don't have that person with you in your life, you lose lots of pieces of that puzzle. So I love grandparent stories. I do Italian and Polish. American immigration, because that's where both my sides of my family came from. And then I also have a crazily inane obsession with historic buildings in the Denver metro area. So I love to look at old houses, and I love to kind of tell the story of the house, because that's very much related to, what we do and in our family research. Some of these families have owned these houses for generations, and to be able to tell that story is just unbelievable.
How do you do it? It's fascinating, this information you can uncover. How does the genius brain from the genealogist work, really?
It really takes somebody who's got that dedication to just sit in a book and never look up. But it's like reading a good mystery book. You just keep uncovering the clues, and instead of reading a mystery book, you're kind of writing it, because you're doing the research behind it and telling that story. So
great. Well, can you give us some examples of some of the things that you've uncovered for people? Juicy stories.
Juicy stories. I love juicy stories.
I know you do.
Because that is truly what makes life interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I never want to work with somebody who says, I don't want any bad things happen in my past, because the reality is that it's a pretty boring existence if nothing ever happens to your ancestors. But even some of the most mundane things. I had a client who was in his later years, probably mid 70s, and we were doing a grandfather search. And lo and behold, in the local Denver paper, there was a nice little article about how the Denver policeman had to wake him up Bobby in hand. I mean, it was very descriptive. These newspaper men from back in the day were very, very descriptive. And essentially, they arrested him for disturbing the peace, for kicking his wife and 2 children out of the house so that he could sleep because they were making too much noise. So I don't know how the police managed to, work this out. And actually, he had to go to court, sit in front of a judge and say, yes, I did. I locked my family out of my house.
Wow.
And when I was telling my client this story, he was thinking back to his childhood. Now, 70 plus years childhood. And he's like, I used to remember things, that maybe grandpa used to drink a little bit, and there's things that, maybe not stated in a newspaper article. I have a great story in my family. My third great grandfather on my Polish side. So
wait, another great story. You shared one last time.
I know.
Grandma.
This one is unbelievable. And
okay.
So he was arrested for calling a neighbor lady names in Polish. And the article is very leading and basically says that in this court record, there were at least 40 different names in Polish that he called her. And the newspaper translated it to like bad woman.
Wow.
So you're like, I'm pretty sure that there is no that does not translate, but it just doesn't translate that way. So I am still trying to get my hands on the original court records to see exactly what the charges were, where this woman was living, what the circumstances of this altercation. I mean, it was definitely back in the day when you could be sued for libel. Wow. For just saying anything about anything.
Wow.
That law doesn't
exist anymore. Wow.
So, but just to be able to come across something like that, and you're like, I wonder what was going on in that neighborhood relationship that, it was so bad that he called her a bad woman of sorts.
Wow.
And she pressed charges and he had to go to court. So, there's lots of little tiny things that just kind of pop up and you're just like, where did these stories go? Well, a lot of them just disappear because of embarrassment, right? But, some of them get morphed into a whole nother story. And so, when you come to me with, well, this is what I heard, I tell you that 2 things. There's 2 stories in every family, right? There's the ones that got passed down, and then there's the truth. And they might be the same, they might have some similarities, but they're really both important because there's a reason the story that got passed down. And so you've got to kind of follow that breadcrumb trail to see kind of what was life like back then and why are we telling this story as opposed to maybe the truth.
So. Yeah. Oh, fascinating. It reminds me of this when we get into my genealogy one day when I work with you, which I'm hiring you to do so in a few months. My Polish grandfather, my mom over the years told us, before she passed it, how he was flirting with the neighbor and harassing her with phone calls. It just ironic you said that. And I don't know if she pressed charges or something happened. It's just similar. But he clearly had a thing for the neighbor. And now, was there ever an affair? We don't know. But there was some type of communication where I think she called the cops on him for harassment. But was there something going on? Was there not? So these are all your story. Just like it's shadowing like the things that I have in my head. Like how do you find those things out? Like court records, phone records. I mean, police station records. Wow.
Yes. Court records are amazing. I mean, they really are. So are police records. If you ever do find someone in your family who has been arrested, you know, they're not always easy to come by, but I can tell you that we just kind of rediscovered a bunch of old police records in the town that I live in. And we currently have a volunteer who's currently transcribing them.
Oh, putting it in the
And, you know,
computer?
he's putting them into the computer. So, you know, who knows how long it'll take him, but hopefully someday people in my city will be able to just search on the web and be able to find those wayward
That's
individuals in their family. I mean, even from the 1920s.
Well, I was going to ask how long. Okay. Well, it's probably different for every state, but give me an idea about how long are paper records kept? I mean,
it depends on each individual repository, how long things are kept. You know, the good news is the federal government tends to keep records in accordance with their regulations. So we've got a lot of great records, like the census records, except for the 1890 census record, which was burnt in a fire and destroyed. So, you know, there's little things like that. You know, the Colorado State Archives has prison records from the 1880s that I've worked in, that have been invaluable in, you know, piecing together a person's background and history. And so you just don't know. It kind of depends on where you're at, whether or not it was deemed important, or whether it was deemed just additional paperwork and just, you know, toss it when you're done with it. So it's nice the fact that we have the records that we do have, but most of them are not digitized yet. So, you know, it's still a lot of in-person going through the record books, you know, looking at the giant ledgers, and trying to get the information that you need. So
what else would you like to share about your company, about your job, and about how you can help everyone here today?
Absolutely. You know, I am super passionate about connecting people with that past that, you know, kind of gives you that foundation for, you know, telling your children and your grandchildren about where you came from, about where they came from, and connecting those, you know, those family members that may not even know that they were family members. I've done a few cases where I've helped people connect with family members that they recently just came across. And it's great. It's, you know, it's important for everybody to have that connection. So,
Well,
oh, go ahead.
No. It's exciting. How long do you normally work with a client for? I mean, if you're working on like one set of grandparents, say, or one person, I mean, how long of a timeline do you have?
It depends. You know, I'd say the shortest timeline is about 6 months. And most of that is because records are not easy to come by. And when you have to order them from, say, an archive that just recently closed again to COVID, it changes the time, right? So I'm usually bouncing back and forth between several clients at a time, trying to kind of navigate the, you know, trying not to mix up the names, which is hard when you're working in Polish names, by the way. I don't have any problem with any of the other families, but the Poles, you know, I'm like, now, is that Uncle so-and-so on this family or this family? Or this. Because you're just like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, you kind of have to build in that time, that wait time. You know, I've got stuff that has been waiting since March of this year that I still don't have, that bought and paid for. But, you know, in this world of Amazon and all the, you know, like to get it now.
So used to, like my kids now, mommy now, yeah.
Yes, exactly. There is no 2-day shipping on this. So oftentimes it's a lot longer than 6 months. It just kind of depends on the the amount of information I can find.
But you keep in touch with the client.
Absolutely.
Is there any for questioning? And I'm sure you're gonna ask more questions. You need more details, or maybe something else comes up saying, I found out this part of information. So there's an
Yes.
open line of communication for however long it takes to get the job
Exactly.
done. I mean, again, there's no guarantee you'll be able to find everything about the person, which I'm sure is a disclaimer, right? But you sure try your best, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, the main thing is that when you start to work with me, we work on a research question. So number one, I cannot do it all, and nor can you afford it. So we try to narrow that focus down to, answering specific questions, trying to figure out, who the parents of so-and-so are, or, where did this person come from? If they just kind of miraculously.
You have everything. It's like a packet, basically. You have the questions already pre-made for someone to go. So they'll eliminate some of the stress.
Yes. No stress, because I send you questions that are like, here's the sample. And if none of those fit, we'll work and find one that works for you. Because I think it's important that we narrow the focus so that the expectations are set right from the beginning. And then again, I also don't want to duplicate any research that has been done by anyone in your family. So we go through everything that you have. I might look over it a little more closely.
Your microscope.
Yeah. I'm like, funny enough, but I do actually
have a little one? Yeah, a magnifying glass. That's what it's called. I'm like a microscope.
Yes, it is a microscope, and it's got a little light.
You're so cute.
Because my eyesight is not what it used to be.
Okay, I'm going to just ask you outright because you're my friend. You cannot be 40. They say your vision goes down when you're 40. You're not 40.
I am. I'm 47.
What? I'm 43. You look like you're 20 something years old. When you said your eyes are bad and you had that,
my eyes are bad.
I said, could she be over 40? Come on.
Totally.
You look half your age.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, when I say that I've worked for over 30 years on my own family history, I really mean it.
Well, you have a beautiful, young, vibrant face. You're so lucky. My goodness. Wow. The telltale sign, because I'm 43. My sister's 47, and her eyes went at 40. My brother's went at 40. I'm 43 and still waiting. Mine haven't gone yet, but
mine started deteriorating about 43, and then just
thanks.
Appointments next week.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Glasses every year. It just happens.
Yep.
But so been handy. But I think that's the piece, is that oftentimes, you look at a death record and you see death date and you see place and you see name, and maybe that's all you see. You might check out why they died. And that's about all, but there's so much more information in those types of records that I like to mine, so that I use them as stepping stones to find more about that person. So, I look at everything you have, and then we build a bigger, broader picture of the person that we're looking for. And that's how it works.
That is fascinating. And sure, there's amazing, amazing testimonials to your work on the website. But anything in particular you want to share? Any other stories of how you've helped people out there who may be listening saying, wow, that could be me. This is what I want. Give us some more examples. It's good stuff.
Absolutely.
I can't get closer to the screen, but for those of you listening on the podcast, I'm also doing a live Zoom. So I'm actually physically seeing Miss Sara. And if you think about, people are listening saying, how does she know what she looks like? How do you know she looks younger than she? Because we're doing a live Zoom too, just to let you know.
Right. So I just started working for a client who is interested in her grandmother's father, who passed away when her grandmother was 3. And she was interested in just kind of getting to know a little bit more about this man who kind of was absent from his daughter's life. And so I just sent a report a couple of weeks ago, just a little kind of update, and was able to kind of pull some information out of some newspapers that kind of gave a little bit more of his personality. He happened to enlist for World War I. And while he was stationed at multiple locations in the United States, he was in the local paper quite a bit. And so, and it was often a very jaunty little, you could just feel the energy of this man, young man, hadn't yet been to war yet. But, good sense of humor, an athlete, all of these things. And I got an email from her yesterday just saying that her grandmother was just floored with the little bit of information that I was able to get in just a short period of time. So, just to be able to draw that picture, she doesn't have a picture of her father.
Ah.
So, those are the things that, I may never be able to recreate the photo, but being able to kind of pull that person out of the past and kind of show their personality just by the way that other people reacted to them, or, by what is written about them, is really a keystone in what I do.
Absolutely. And Sara, why are you so passionate about history? Why are you so passionate about helping others trace their genealogy? Can you just, for those that may not know of you and your passions in life, explain to us, please.
Absolutely. So growing up, I only had grandmothers, which was never weird to me until I grew up. And then I was like, oh, you have grandfather? Like, you have living grandfathers. I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So I had these two amazing women who were very, very different, and yet their lives were so intertwined and so very similar, with, losing their husbands, having 5 living children. There was all these similarities in my family, on both sides. And yet my grandmothers were like 20 years different in age. So when I was kind of exploring what I wanted to do, and history was definitely a big part of it, I took an American immigration class in college. And I was able to interview one of my grandmothers for a project for that class. And I had already missed out on the opportunity for my other grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to just kind of dig a little bit deeper and ask questions that I never would have asked. And because of that, I now have things in my possession that she gave me because I was interested. I was like almost the last grandchild out of 11. So I have things in my possession that were important to her that she gave me before she died.
Yeah.
And so I think it just kind of stemmed my curiosity. And then you get a little more curious. And then you kind of want to know how your people fit in history and how they fit in time and what were they doing and what was going on. And, and did this person serve in the military? If they didn't, why not? And, all of these things. And then you just keep climbing and you keep going back and asking these questions. And it really does become an obsession. And so I just kind of got into that. I need to know more. I want to know more. And then you become the family historian, and then everyone asks you what the answer is, which I was already kind of that as a young child. I had great memory with birthdays. So I knew when everyone was born. So I still get, Facebook messages, when was grandpa's birthday? It's like crazy things that you're just like, now I have to look it up because my brain is a little too full. But, those are the things that kind of, are important to everybody, but not everybody has the capacity to collect them. And then, a few years back, I decided that I needed a change of career and was looking for something that I love to do. And I told my husband, I need to research, but I want to research something that's interesting. I don't necessarily want to go the tech route. I don't want to learn anything too complicated.
Yeah.
But I want to learn something. I want to grow. And so I typed in professional genealogist to Google and said, hey, yeah, that's great. There are professional genealogists.
Hey, yeah, that's me. I've been doing that my whole life. I already am one.
Exactly. And so I said, that's what I want to do. And so I had already decided to quit my job. So it's not like I, had a plan or anything. I really did not have a plan, but it came up pretty quickly. And essentially I was done on a Friday, and on a Monday I started with a new client, and I haven't looked back because it really is a huge passion for me. It's something that
Feel it. I could see it. I sense it from you. Yes, I love it.
It drives what I do. So I love it.
I'm getting tears in my eyes again. I don't know what you do to me, but it's really like you're that passionate. I could see it. I feel it. And I think about family history, mine, it's so important. And this life before us, there's just so much more to it. And I believe that I'm also a spiritual where I really believe in, I don't want to, you don't have to put you on the spot, but I believe that my mom is around me right now. She, deceased 4 years ago, but it's like, I believe in that. And so I believe they guide us to people like you to help us, right? And I'm sure people have said that to you before, because it's like they may have lost someone in their family, but it's all part of the circle of life, what's meant to be. I don't believe that we really die. We're still there. And the signs and the ways and the things that happen to connect people, as you know, in life, it's just beautiful that you can help bring back some of those memories, bring back that past, because we all have such great memories of our family, and some maybe not so great memories, but you want to relive them and know them to pass them down to the next generation. So,
right. Absolutely. I mean, there's things that, over time, I don't remember about growing up, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as somebody in the family starts a story, it triggers a memory.
Something, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what this does, is it helps trigger those memories, helps start those conversations, and kind of pulls that cohesiveness of family back together. So yeah, not everything is perfect in any family, and every family is a little bit crazy. So just go with that. And and you get what you get, but I think it's important to know the struggles that people went through to get you to where you are now, because you can't be that grateful person of, it's amazing that I am where I am right now, but I couldn't be here without the people that came before me.
Good and bad, whatever their path was, doesn't matter. It made us who we are today. Wow, amazing. So if people want to reach out to you, you offer a consultation. Could you explain how the process works?
Absolutely. So if you go out to my website, go out to www.descent, DESCENT, detective.com/podcast, and you will get links to all kinds of great information. You'll get an opportunity to sign up for a free newsletter with some freebies involved as well, which is always awesome. And then booking, click on the booking. There's 2 free bookings I do. One is for genealogy, one is for house histories in the Denver metro area. So, and it's a free 30-minute consultation. Doesn't cost anybody anything. It gives them an opportunity to ask questions, figure out where they want to go, if, doing it on their own is right for them, or hiring a professional is right for them. If I'm not the right professional, I have lots of contacts. So that is always amazing too. So then I can always pass people on if this is what they want to do.
Beautiful. Sara Dawson, thank you for your time today. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. It makes me happier to see your smiling face over there as well. And thank you for doing what you do and connecting us with our past, which in turn helps with our future and so much more. All right. Descent Detective, DESCENT, detective.com. Sara Dawson, you're a doll. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a great day. And to everyone listening, please stay tuned. More of the show is on the way.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.